Let's pray. Almighty God, we humbly call on you to bless this council and this city and all who are engaged in the work of local government. Grant that we may order all things in wisdom, righteousness, and peace to the honor of your name and the good of your people who dwell in our city. Amen. Good afternoon, councillors, management, and members of the Fourth Estate. Summer is upon us, and with it, high winds and hot temperatures. And I want to make a special appeal to each of us as councillors, but particularly to the members of the public. In the course of the last week, in my ward, a resident set a fire ablaze, clearing a stand. That fire got out of control and it completely burnt out a house that was built in the 1940s. Utterly destroyed the house. Just yesterday, again in my ward, I happened to come across two young men who had been instructed to light a fire, to clear brush. Fortunately, I was able to phone the fire brigade and to get them to put the fire out. But had that fire got out of control, it would literally have gone right the way through and taken out the whole of the Hillside Dams Conservancy. Just this afternoon, in the same area, there was another fire deliberately lit. I have had complaints this afternoon from other wards, another house in Ward 3, where the house was almost taken out this afternoon. This, of course, is against our bylaws. But it appears as if the public are just disregarding our bylaws. Our fire brigade is run off its feet at present. We have the most amazing teams there yesterday. These men and women are working long hours into the night, often at great risk to themselves. They are stretched to breaking point. And yet we have our residents who are paying callous disregard to our bylaws, but also to the interests of others. Soon a child is going to be killed. And I appeal to residents to stop this burning. I don't know what gets into people, particularly at this time of year with high winds and these very high temperatures and bush which is so dry. But it goes beyond that. We need to change our culture. I don't understand the policy of use, and you treat it, you come up with wonderful compost, which can then be used for wonderful vegetables. We need to break this culture of thinking that we have to burn everything and actually realize that there's a far more positive way of doing this. So that is an appeal to residents. I appeal to each one of us as councillors to reach out over the course of the next few days and weeks to try and appeal to residents right across the city to stop this culture. And then Town Clerk, as you know, in our Gweru conference recently, I appealed for the digitalization of our bylaws. If you look at the bylaw, for example, Town Clerk, relating to the burning of rubble, It is an ancient bylaw from 1966. It is still in paper version. When I asked our legal officer for a copy of it, she had to scan the original paper version. In other words, it's not readily available. And this exercise of digitalizing all our bylaws and reviewing them is critically important so that we can get ready access to that. One final thing, in terms of our own deliberations, we clearly need to totally review our bylaws. And when it comes to issues like this, we need to look at the most stringent penalties possible. Let me end on that note. Section 141 of the Criminal Procedure and Evidence Act creates a criminal offense for people who act negligently and that causes loss to another person. And the person who started the fire in Douglasdale, Burnside, has been charged in terms of that criminal offense. And hopefully the message will get through. But we need our own vigorous laws so that our own municipal police and our own management can rigidly enforce this. I'm sorry to labor this point today. I like to be more positive, but it is an issue which has confronted me and which we need to give urgent attention. That said, Town Clerk, let's start our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The councillors of the City of Bulawayo, our esteemed stakeholders, management, and ladies and gentlemen of the media. The legal question being confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 6th of August 2025 attached as Annexure A, pages A to Z. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Can we confirm the minutes of the meeting of the 6th of August? May I sign? Right, Chair of Future Water, please, would you present your report?
Your Worship, I move that the report of the Future Water Supplies and Water Action Committee held on the 5th of August 2025 is submitted, be received, and the various recommendations contained therein after be adopted. I thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you, ma'am. Any debate? Move the reports. Oh, sorry. Thank you, sir. Number 5.
I want to speak to the lifeline of the City of Bulawayo. It's the water organization, and I saw the beautiful report about the effort that has been done by the committee to deal with the legal and short-term measures to address our bad water needs in Bulawayo. But I had a disappointment at the end where there is a column on that of Mater. And that apparently is no narrative report, which in my view raises a lot of questions because we are a council that is coming at a time when Bulawayo needs an additional there. And we've gotten a lot of praise and accolades about what initiatives were taken to try and address the issue of additional supplies, additional dams. But now, here we are in today's council under the gap of former dams, no narrative before, whereas in all the other dams and all the other areas, something being done and the quantities that have been projected. So by any stretch of the imagination, Worship, I think the City of Bulawayo will definitely need additional dams. There could be issues to do with the negotiating, the water purchase agreement. I believe that we shouldn't get bogged down. We should definitely have the skills to navigate, across all these issues. We have to find each other, but we cannot afford to let that go off. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. If there's no further debate, let me respond to the Councillor. Councillor, your point is valid, and glass block, I can assure you, remains a key focus of this entire council. As you will recall, at the conclusion of the last full council meeting, it was resolved that management would contact the African Development Bank as a matter of urgency. I'm pleased to report that that has taken place and that there have been very constructive discussions between management and the African Development Bank. And so I'm hopeful that in the course of this coming month, we might have some substantial progress in that regard. But your point is very well taken. May we move the report? Would the Chair of Health and Housing please move?
I move that the report of the Health, Housing and Education Committee meeting held on the 13th of August 2025 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Do we have a seconder for that? Any debate? Any debate? You've got for what item, sir?
Ngiyabonga Nkosi ngithuba elinikele ukuthi ngikhulume ku report le evela ku committee ye-HHE. Nkosi uzakhumbula ukuthi ngihlala ngiphakamisa indaba yokuthi isikhathi sesifike esokuthi idolobho li-addresse indaba ye-Ngozimine ehlukumeza abantu base-Cowdrey Park. Kusuku ezimbili ezidlulileyo Nkosi, 2 days ago, I had a meeting eorganizwe ngabasakaza umhlangano lowo abesite besebenza le-PRIS, besebenza le-Bulawayo Progressive Residents Association ukuzokhuluma ngendaba eNgozimine. Nyakeni Nkosi zakhumbula ukuthi sasithenjisiwe ukuthi uzafakwa umbiko phandle wokuthi abafuna ukusebenza endaweni liyana baphakame ba-indicate interest yabo, ba-evaluate, ba-adjudicate into yamihleli. Kodwa nxa ngikhangela umnyaka suyephele wesibili, akulanto ebambekayo esiyenzekile endabeni ezibi ezilahlwa eNgozimine, endaba yentuthu ehlukumeza abantu base-Cowdrey Park. Owami-ke umbuzo kukomiti leli, kusihlalo wekomiti leli, ngokuthi kambe abantu be-Cowdrey Park babe okwesikhathi esingakanani lize liqede uku-assessa ama-expressions of interest. Abantu be-Cowdrey Park babe okungakanani behotshiswa intuthu abangaziyo ukuthi ivela kuphi, lo mthelela omubi empilweni zabo ungakanani lokho sibahlukumeza abantu be-Cowdrey Park. Nkosi zananzelela ukuthi kulama-directives avela ku-central government ukuthi njengedolobho kufuze silandele kumbe sibuke into eyenziwe yiHarare yokungeja abo-geocommon. Should we wait until sesi-impozelwe imodeli engxenye engekho kuma-best interest abahlali bakubulawayo? So Nkosi, namhlanje ngikuzile umbuzo lo kunyanga ezintathu ezidlulileyo, ngiyawubuza njalo. Abantu be-Cowdrey Park bame okungakanani kuze kuphele indaba ye-adjudication for i-landfill site eseNgozimine? Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Same item, ma'am. You have the floor.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Nami ngusem item ngikhuluma kakhulu lami ngezelele ukukhulunywa ngokhansela ngengozi mine. Sesisithi isikhathi sikhuluma ngengozi mine. Angazi ukuthi kambe abantu sabanakelela yini laba abahotsha intuthu yena le engozi mine. Sithi isikhathi ukuthi ikhansela sokumele ukuthi ngabe sekukhona imizamo esiyenziwe ngengozi mine. Nkosi siyacela ukuthi linanzelela abantu sikhuluma ngempilo zabantu abasengozi mine. Ngoba intuthu le ayilunganga abayihotsha insuku zonke. Ngiyabonga.
Ma'am? Same item?
Ngiyabonga.
Same item, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Lami on the same item, Nkosi. I remember ngike ngakhuluma lami futhi once again ngendaba leyi engozi mine. Your worship, indaba engozi mine, if we don't take it serious, one of the days we'll find ourselves sesise court kumbe sokulabantu asebefile okwamampela because singakhangela it has done a lot of damage. I stay in Lobengula, but sometimes ungaphuma along masiye phambili uyayibona intuthu yakhona. It's a sign ukuthi this thing is serious. Okwenzakalayo your worship, if into nje inga-addresswa serious seke sisithi ingozi mine sithatha lightly ukuthi ingozi mine. Honestly speaking, abantu ba-affected. Kuba lama respiratory problems. Ama problems lawa ngiyakwazi isikhathini esiningi ayakhoza i-asthma, ayakhoza i-chest pain. At the end of the day, kulimala abantwana labantu abadala. Ngingakhangela ingozi mine laphana kuhlezi abantu aba-vulnerable. Those people are vulnerable such that they're not living a normal life. But bese behlangana futhi lento liyana intuthu liyana. Ama-gases lawa nxa ebhena Nkosi, what usually happens? Kuba le carbon dioxide. Esuka ilimaze i-climate change. I mean, kuvele i-climate change. At the end of the day, bese kusiba lani ama-health risk abekho sibakhona phakathi komphakathi. So esikukhangelela kakhulu ukuthi abantu benga-affectwa into lezi i-cancer, ismoke lesi sesi-affecte labantwana besikolo, labafundisayo. Futhi I don't think it's counterpart alone. It's even imakhandeni as well. Iba affected. So into esikhangeleleyo ukuthi asithatheni into leyi seriously. I know ukuthi ukuze laphana kulunge kudinga thina sonke sibambisane. Or in other ways, asithini ngcono siyikhiphe nini ingabi seduzane labantu. Ibe khatshana. Ngibona ngoko ka-propose futhi kona lokho. Asisuse nini. Singakhangela ukuthi indawo lana yebo ifuna ukuthi nxa ingalungiswa. Sikhangelele maybe cost of about $2.something million. But asikhangele nini impilo zabantu. Ingozi mine isiyingozi njengelizwe layo. So asikuthatheni serious kona lokho. Ngiyabonga.
Same issue?
Yeah, thank you very much, Josh. I think the matter which is before the House was adequately answered by the town clerk according to the report which is before us, where it was indicated that the town clerk advised that the central government will issue the directive to all local authorities on the management of landfill sites. Local authorities were required to copy the city of Varane landfill site model being managed by Pomona Private Limited. Area was being generated from Pomona landfill site. A lot of companies indicate an interest in the management of the city's landfill at Richmond. The key issue is that the issue would be tendered out in line with the price and ZIDA regulations. Once the tender process was done and finalized, the landfill site would be properly managed. I think the answers to the debate, which is before this house has been adequately captured through the statements from the town clerk here. Thank you.
Thank you also. Angazi ukuthi department le kungaba lozimo ongakanani uzimo khona can they explain to us ukuthi kuyini okunzima ukuthi kube nomcabango
all these processes. We have an emergency in Gauteng. Why is continuously down? That way, essentially. Kabula yini ikomiti lapha ekhathala khona ibe lokunyula wami ukuthi why is we are preparing for all those processes tendering and everything. It's short short ideas esingawala ukuthi that imali yokusabe iwaphi. Ikomiti nxa ike yahlala sikhangele ukuthi bebuye lo mcabango belidwa yilabo abaqatshileyo phela ukuthi balokungcishi ukucabanga besicabangela njengedolobha. Kungabe kulokho sidampa ngapha sikhala ngapha siyadampa ngapha siyakhala. It will look like silabantu abangakwanisa umsebenzi. So let's have a solution, a temporary solution that can make town work out back. Bengabe lokho bekhala. So inqobe engishiya ku committee nalokuthi go back and see with immediate effect. Ngibona ukuthi how best can we have a temporary measure for us ukuthi abantu bekhawuthi bathi bengabilokho bekhala. There are a lot of izinto under that same department as affecting Kautuba. Ngingafanisa ngokuthi there is an issue esayiresolvayo kudala la eyokuthi kuyafana nalezi zindlu lezana esathi kazikhitshwe ngoba seziyingozi ebantwini ezikuma endaweni ezilamanzi. Sayenza i-resolution saqeda savumelana ukuthi izindlu lezana abantu labana kabadingwe indawo yokuya. I don't want to believe ukuthi i-council ekade sayila lapho esinganika khona abantu labana ukuthi bebe prepare ukuthi beyabe lanxa sisamelele lama processes, our evaluations of the property and everything, those residents are ready ukuthi for the meantime sibanike ama-stands lawo bebe bezenzela besuke laphana because izulu selizabuya futhi. This is the third year. Sesile 3 years khuluma nge-one into. Abantu labana they are still akukabi le solution. So i-department play angazi ukuthi singalitshela okungakanani ukuthi lithatha izinto lezi with i-emergency. Because nxa sibuza thina njengama-councillors siyabe sitshela ukuthi i-town planning ayikaqedi i-pricing. Siyabe izimpendulo siyabe sizithola ukuthi pricing what but sokuthetha isikhathi eside sikhuluma ngento eyi-one. Why don't we take ezinye izinto njengama-emergency? Because khathesi very soon izulu lizakuna. We still go back to i-problem esasilayo last year. So sicela i-committee leyi iyehlala phansi ibuye lezi zinto ezincedisa i-Cultural Park ngoba kulama-problems amaningi. Siyabonga ngoba.
Well, let's exhaust this, please. What? This item?
Thank you, Your Worship.
Are you debating?
Item 4.
Are you debating what we've
No,
been? No, I want to exhaust this, please.
Oh, fine.
Councillor, is on this issue?
Yes, Your Worship. Thank you so much. I want to talk specifically on the issues that are raised by the councillors pertaining to the hazards obtaining in affecting Cultural Park as a result of Gozi mine. But I want to be specific to the economic issue around Ngozi. Your Worship, when government talks of leaving no one behind, it speaks to an equitable distribution of resources, an equitable distribution of the wealth, an equitable distribution of employment opportunities without discrimination. Your Worship, we cannot be directed by government to engage Pomona. The government must direct us to take action and come up with waste collection and waste companies that speak to the model similar to Pomona as a leverage, but even aim to do better. My problem with the Pomona being mentioned as a panacea to our challenges in Bulawayo is that we are creating a monopolistic economy where Pomona takes waste collection in Bulawayo, waste collection in Harare, waste collection in Kwekwe, waste collection in Victoria Falls. Are we honestly not leaving others behind when we are doing that? Let's come up with a model. If the Pomona model is the best model, let's open it up to other individuals, specifically in this region in Matebelele, because we have a lot more projects coming from Harare, your worship, obtaining here in Bulawayo. And I am standing here as Mxolisi Mvulo Mahlangu, saying we need to ensure that we are equitable in the distribution of the earning wealth in the country. And I am grateful because the government has set examples where, because of the independence, the people of Okwe benefited on infrastructure development. And because of the future independence in case the people of Kez are already benefiting from the infrastructure development there, we must take that leaf. It should not only be when it suits certain individuals within corridors of power. Let's do this in every sector of the economy, including the wastewater collection.
On this topic?
Item one, but different.
No, I want us to exhaust this and then we'll move on to some. Does anyone else want to address the issue of Ngozi Mine? Ma'am?
I want to respond.
Well, no, we'll respond at the end.
No.
Right, let's move on to other items then. Thank you. Sir?
Item 2.
Yeah. And you are? You have the floor, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. We noticed that summer is about to begin. Therefore, we are likely to experience rains soon. I'd like to urge the council, our council, to start clearing drainages, particularly in the CBD. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone before 4? What do you want to?
Yes, I wanted to speak to dog control.
What? Item 1.
Yes.
Carry on.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, fellow councillors, for speaking eloquently and so well about Ngozi Mine. But here is another conundrum for the city, dog control. It has been, Your Worship, a tradition for the city of Bulawayo to shoot stray dogs. And the report shows us here that in only 10 days, 79 dogs were put to sleep, which shows us that if they had had the resources and had a whole month to do the tire order, to enforce the tire order, more dogs would have been shot. I'm trying to think about animal care organizations that we can perhaps work with. We have got organizations that are operating animal sanctuaries. Is it not possible to work with these organizations so that they can use possibly tranquilizers or mobilizers to capture these animals? Because they very well survive on keeping animals for different purposes. Because I'm looking at shooting, how brutal it is. Had this exercise been carried on for maybe 2 months, we would have killed maybe up to 1,000 or even more dogs. Is that not cruelty to animals? Thank you.
Item 4. Item 2.
Item 2, we-health expectorants. Ngicela ukubuza i-community uzamobane ozamayo ukuthi lama-public toilet asemagosa emalokishini angasasebenzile. Kulewo bantu abaphekayo emuva futhi at the same time khonapho. Besidla khonapho ngesikhathi lesi kuchisa impukane eziningi kangaka. Ngizamobane ukuthi ama-toilet la asebenze. Ngisuke ngeke khonapho ngiye elobhengula kwamalanga. Kulaba vendors athengisayo konke lapha. Amanye amaphepha asile. Kodwa-ke bathengisa from ekuseni kuze kechama 10 ebusuku. Akula toilet endaweni yaleyo. Kambe bangabe bengena lapha abantu lapha.
from ekuseni up to 10 ebusuku bayathengisa bayetshayisa bangena ngaphi ngoba ayisuke lobhengula abaningi bakhona. Right, sisuke siye koMasunda eNyulobhengula amashop amakhulu abasemathi bakhona ngapha akula ma-toilet abantu bangena ngaphi kungala toilet kungala public toilet mhlawumbe engxenye ama-toilet kasavulelwa ngikwazi kodwa mzamo bana bayizamali ngibe sengicina ngeground lethu elikhulu eliyelesi-4 from iDurban Fields ubuye i-White City kuye kuyiluveve so kuyi-desert lapho kwasuka khona injini Sundowns. Kudlalwa amabhora nge-weekend from 8 to 5 akula toilet akulani abantu laba bangena ngapha basuke endaweni ezithiyeneyo ama-players bangena ngapha abantu laba. Ngiyabonga.
Item 7, anyone before 7, ma'am? Item 4, you have the floor, ma'am. What item, sir? 2.
Ngiyabonga. Ngifuna ukubuza ikomiti. Ngiyabona lapha ngiyelesile umsebenzi uyawenza ngiyele emashoko amaningi awo. Ngifuna ukuthi le indawo kufuze linanzelele ku-15 April. Sokusiwa nesifuna ngoMasayi ka-2. Abantu abagezisa izimota labantu. So kuyidemo from 15 liseka siyathela kulolobhelo singaphi. Amazilawana ukuthi avelela ngaphi. Abanye bakhona abathengi awejojo basebenzisa amanzi ethu awebomvu. Abatheli ngoba ungagayela kwezinye indawo zakhona kunamajojo. Waqalile ama-hospital straight khona pha. Badlalisa amanzi abantu bebona izakhamizi zingela amanzi emalokishini abanye begezisa izimota bethela ngendlela abathela ngayo egeleze. Uphinde kube labantu abathengisayo phandle khona phana sekulidamu. Uphinde kube namaroli asepaka khona phana ama-accident asenzakala khona phana bathengisa khona phana ngoba sokuyi-truck stop. Sicela leyo likunanzelele khonokho libe lifikele khona ngale abantu batshelwe ukuthi kusetshenzwa njani koBulawayo 25/6. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Your Worship. We are already in summer and we are noticing sales of food which is supposed to be refrigerated, but these items are not. So, and council is not visible in around those areas where food is being sold, which is not refrigerated. So I urge the council and kindly ask it to enforce, to stiffen the law and kindly enforce. Thank you.
Ma'am?
Bambanisa item 2 and item 4. Item 2 bengikhala kakhulu baba ngemizamo yema-toilet. Ngilohlupho le-toilet yakoMaplala eWathini. Ngike ngayibika, asengilesibanga ngiyibika but lokho kungalala lutho olwenziweyo. Angazi ukuthi mizamo bani ukubani i-toilet liyana ilungise ngoba iphakathi kwezindlu lemagrosa. Okungangokuthi ekudleni akusela safety ekudleni ebantwini labantwaneni. Impukane zisukuma khona phana zisiye emagrosa ziyaphakama njalo zisiye ezindlini. Ngilesicelo baba kakhulu ngama-toilet. Lesavika ebadaleni ngisithi mina hathi ilokhu zenza kusameleli ibudget kuzathi kungathi ibudget ngilokho ngicela ngisenze njalo kodwa kathesi baba kakuseki abadala sebengizise kanje. So ngicela ukuthi
What item, sir? 14? 7.
Thank you. Item 7 on cemetery. Ngithanda ukukhalaza kakhulu nge-IPAS ukuthi indlela esiphathwa ngakhona abantu baphuma phakathi benyathela amangcwaba So ngiyacela ukuthi i-committee izama umzamo omkhulu kakhulu ukuthi izame ukuthi ifensele lapha. And even the Holy Book says, let us respect the dead. Asibahlonipheni abasebenzayo. Yeah, and lastly, I would like to acknowledge what two Councillor Rendani Moyo, for what he did Mvucho lapana, no accessa ihane isaka, yasi donsa yasi emta indegeza. So kathese Mvucho lapana so ungeneke ema-toilet. Well done, Councillor Siyabo.
Who's got 14? Somebody. No one before 14? You have the floor.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Tanabuwa committee with the works that they've done so far in terms of our recreational facilities. Now we have been seeing it progress on behalf of young people who are being trained. The sad test of the incidents is something that is noble in the community. So for our chairperson, the committee, the efforts that we are trying to do in terms of empowering young people, amplify so that we minimize the activity of drug and substance abuse and other calamities that are being faced by young people. But also, chairperson, the Nazareth, our recreational centers, we also use it to ama church, ama activities. I was calculating the total close to 3,000. Maybe if you come up with a recommendation as a committee to say imagine as surveillance for AMA bookings, AMA recreational facilities to be injected back, which we develop AMA recreational facilities. The faggot in China, and as you know that we are in net.com generation, we may not be advanced in terms of technology. So if you come up with such a recommendation to say we are safeguarding all the monies that are being used our recreational facilities in Andawana, then you inject back in terms of development of those spaces. Maybe in the near future, there are other critical areas and such facilities. Areas that think good money, which is the heart of flower in terms of youth representation in their poor population. So it's kind of the you lobby other departments which are interested in these things to ensure that you identify spaces as recreational facilities. We are heading towards a nation which will be soon dominated by young people in every specific area of life. Yes, it's very important. With invested in these things as soon as possible. But above all, towards at least the people of Flower, young people see the progress and the response of this council in terms of their daily living conditions. Thank you.
Any other debate? No, before you reply, I just want to make a few comments regarding Ngozi Mine. Councillor, thank you for raising it. And as you know, we have debated this at length before. It remains an open wound in our city. It is shocking that this has not been resolved. And when we speak about the health consequences for those who are unfortunate to be downwind of it, I fear that we have not seen the full consequences of that. And so we are all right and proper to raise this. It needs to be an absolute priority. Having said that, in my conversations with the town clerk, and as Councillor Maputo alluded to, management has gone considerable lengths in this regard. To the lengths, I've been briefed that there is a Canadian company which has been identified that can provide a solution. And so management has been seized with this. We just have not managed to get over the line. Having said that, I want to make a couple of specific points. Firstly, we need to prescribe ourselves what we need. There's not one size fits all. For example, in Harare, their waste collection was non-existent. Whereas in our city, under Superintendent Ndlovu, we have an outstanding, in my view, team. Yes, they don't always do what we need them to do, but it's a lack of resources. It's not a want of management or expertise. And if we empowered that section, I have absolutely no doubt that we have a cleansing department which is way better than most cleansing departments in the country. So we mustn't reinvent the wheel in that regard. Number two is we must follow due process. We must follow the law. We must follow the correct tender process. We must ensure that whoever participates in that complies with all of those legal processes. And critically, it must be transparent so that we know whoever ultimately is awarded the contract is the right person, and that we do not lumber. And let me reintroduce glass block. Some of the councillors who've raised concerns about glass block, those are legitimate concerns going forward in terms of what we lumber residents with in terms of charges. And we must ensure that whatever contract we enter into is in the best interests of residents, primarily. The final thing is we need to think out of the box. It relates to the issue of creating an understanding of what we need. But we need to look at our unique circumstances. I've spoken about this before. You know that I've spoken about the Swedes who import plastic. I was shocked when I first heard it. They import plastic from Germany and elsewhere in Europe. Waste plastic comes across to Sweden on ships. In other words, it is a business. And they use their expertise and their position to process that. In other words, they have converted waste from a problem into an opportunity. And we have a unique position in our city, given where we are, the pivotal position of our city, and in particular the railway line, and the fact that the railway line is so close to Ngozi Mine. If one builds a railway spur to where Ngozi Mine is, it's not more than a kilometer, perhaps 2 kilometers. And we need to re-envisage this, that we become a center that imports plastic from Lusaka, from Livingston, from Victoria Falls, from Gaborone, from Botswana, from Polokwane, from Harare, to the center, so that we get the economies of scale required. In other words, think out of the box. And there are many waste management facilities internationally. The town clerk was recently speaking to me about the approach from the Japanese. The town clerk has just been in Japan. It's a tiny island which generates vast wealth, but you don't see it anywhere because they have highly efficient waste management facilities there. The key for us is to identify the expertise which is tried and tested elsewhere in the world, which is tailored to what our need is, and then transparently we can enter into a contract with those people for a jointly profitable, hopefully, enterprise that will profit the city, profit the private enterprise that comes in, use that waste for energy production, but also use that waste to transform it into other parts of plastic, for example, aggregate, which can be used on roads and construction within our manufacturing industry. So I just wanted to say all of those points. This is a critical thing, and I want to come to Councillor Hove, your point. So the problem about a quick fix solution is that it sometimes can complicate matters. My view is that we need to get the right solution, proactive about it, so that we get an urgent, correct solution to address this terrible sore in our society. Thank you. Chair, would you respond?
Thank you so much, Your Worship. I'll respond to the issue of event group. Mostly were comments and all concerns were noted. But currently, landfill is properly managed. We have hired the compactor, is on ground, and currently, for the past month, you can check there were less fires. We are managing it better.
There's a point of order, ma'am. Just let him.
And I was phoned by our residents at 1 a.m. They are gasping for air. And I don't think it's proper for the chairperson of the committee to mislead the House and the residents of Ulawa, which was line is being properly managed.
Thank you, Councillor. You made your point. Just a correction. I don't think, in fairness to the chair, that she is deliberately misleading the House. It may be that she's not aware because it's not her ward.
There are less fires.
Yeah.
They are not like before. We are trying to manage it. There are less fires. It's not like before. Because the machinery is on the ground. We are trying to minimize those fires. There are less fires. That's what I wanted to say. Then for the other issues, the issue of health inspectorate, issues of ukupheka emalokishini. Okokuqala izakhamizi kumele zazi ukuthi akuvunyelwa konke laba abantu abapheka phandle ngoba abaningi babo abalama licenses. As councillors, it's our mandate and it's our duty to make sure we let the resident know. I-council okwakhathesi uhlupho esilalo yi-main power eyokuthi sanelise ukuthi sibasuse bonke. Kodwa iqiniso abantu bonke abaphandle laphana badinga impilo abavunyelwa abekho emthethweni. Yikho kwesinye isikhathi lalizwe bekhala ukuthi amapholisa ayababopha. Ubulawayo abantu abaningi sebethethe umthetho bawufaka ezandleni zabo. I'll leave for other questions to my colleague.
Thank you, Your Worship. In no particular order, allow me to speak to the issue of dog control. Councillor Ndlovu A made an impassioned contribution about animal rights. For every right, Your Worship, there is a responsibility. If we allow these animals to maraud unguarded on our streets, we'll experience the end results of a jungle in modern civilization. We cannot, Your Worship, afford to allow these animals to maraud unchecked if there is no responsible person looking after their needs. This is what then causes us to see a lot of dogs flocking around dry areas and on our streets. And then, of course, there is the threat of rabies. And then, at the same time, we also have some residents who are not responsible enough to fence off their properties, yet they are keeping vicious dogs. It is therefore going to be a dereliction of responsibility if we look the other way and say, no, we cannot kill these dogs. Because even those who have said they want to try and adopt some of these stray pets are stretched to the limit in terms of resources, Your Worship. At times, they actually extend a bowl of goodwill to see if there is anyone that can assist them. It is therefore important for all of us to understand and make it a rule of thumb that we only keep dogs if we can afford to their upkeep. With that being said, a tie-up order, while it is not a favorite solution, it's the only realistic way of dealing with the population of stray dogs on our streets. Allow me, Your Worship.
Can I just interject just a moment on that issue? A concern I have is when you shoot dogs, there's always a greater chance that children or other people in the vicinity may get harmed, aside from the interests of dogs. And I don't know if you'd like to address whether there are not other means of euthanasia, putting dogs to sleep. Do we not have that facility?
While I respectfully note your concern, Your Worship, normally when these operations are undertaken, a lot is taken into consideration to minimize and mitigate against unnecessary damage or injury. Be it the time when it takes place and the way it is generally done. And these are not usually done by trainees or inexperienced marksmen. They are usually done in a multi-stakeholder collaborative effort which involves other stakeholders in order to minimize and focus more on a situation which will bring us the results. That's why maybe you can also look at the number and the short period when the tie-up order was active. The idea is also to make sure that no human being is affected. So all those things are taken into consideration. Actually, before it takes place, there is a technical committee which works behind the scenes and painstakingly, meticulously goes over all the details to make sure that this operation is a success without affecting the other stakeholders who will be in that committee.
Thank you.
Allow me, Your Worship, to also mention in passing that open-air vending of prepared food is illegal, and it comes with serious health implications. The same goes for open-air vending of meat and meat products or fish. The city is currently seized with an enforcement challenge due to manpower constraints, but the fact remains, this is not supposed to be happening. And I want to take this opportunity as well to discourage people from buying from such sources, because when you buy that product, there is no assurance on quality, Your Worship. You do not know where it has been kept, and you do not know where it was obtained. And if there is a health crisis which develops from that, it is very difficult sometimes to trace the source, because people will be buying from a place which is otherwise illegal, and there is no certification which can be produced on demand. And then, Your Worship, there is, of course, I think that one was a comment from Councillor M. Moyo, which speaks to setting aside a certain component of funds raised by recreation centers to plow them back for the development of those very centers. And then, of course, Your Worship, there is the issue which was mentioned by Councillor Neta of the situation regarding the toilets at Umbuchwa Cemetery. It was a crisis, Your Worship, because the septic tank was full, the toilets were blocked, and they were inaccessible. Now, the same people that were supposed to penalize people for using the bush as a toilet were in a tight spot, Your Worship. So my office had to step in and try to reach a solution there. At the moment, I am advised, and I have checked, and everyone who has been there confirms that the toilets are functional at the moment. The only challenge may be that we need to deal with. I was advised, and I will advise the House right now, that we do have Jojo tanks. We're in the process of arranging for Jojo tank stands so that they can be put there. I want to thank Saltaway. They came through with the honeysucker at such a critical moment. And I want to also thank the chair of the Engineering and Environmental Services Committee, Councillor Sekete, when I requested a team to go and attend to the toilets, they were very prompt. And on a positive note, Your Worship, as I sit down, allow me to thank Thembelezizwe Trust. They are doing a good job of revamping AZOP Primary School. The team is on the ground and works have started. That school is going to be revamped in a manner which will match the demands of the modern education need. And I think it will never be the same again. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
With the Chair of Environmental and Engineering, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the report of the Environmental Management and Engineering Service Committee meeting held on this August 2025 is submitted, be received, and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted, of course, with an amendment on item number 17, which is the aforementioned contractor be given 6 months of extension, not 3 months, as per the resolution of this council, pending the meeting of this council, and this contractor, which was scheduled for the 28th of August, to be shifted at most to early September 2025. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you. Debate? What item, ma'am?
18.
Anyone before 18? What item, ma'am? Anyone before 4? You have the floor, ma'am.
Endaweni yamabhawuza siyashelwa amalokishini akhe siswele imibhawuza edolobheni ezosincedisa khona lapho siyabe 4 days zethu singela manzi nxa uyacela ibhawuza kuthiwa awulamba bhawuza imizamo bani abayenza ikomiti leni ngendaba yamabhawuza ngoba lokho sabuya khona lapha ekhansilini lokho kukhulunywa mutho ukuthi silamabhawuza angu7 eyi1 kayisebenzi eyi1 yiyo esebenzayo sicela lisikhangelele khona lapho ngoba emalokishini sisuka kube nzima nxa singela manzi sesifile. Ngiyabonga.
What item, sir? Sorry. 5? Same item. You have the floor.
Thank you, Worship. Your Worship, it's now more than 2 years since we got into office, and the issue has been raised by Councillor 427 is a very serious one. We are now getting into the most difficult part of the year, which is the summer. Your Worship, if you check our records, Your Worship, for the first 2 years, the number of bowsers that we are having is not increasing, but it's actually declining. And she's talking about funerals. We also have situations where sometimes residents cannot get water in their taps. And the only option, the only alternative in areas where we do the boreholes is to bring water from mama houses. But as we are speaking, Your Worship, I requested for the bowser myself this previous weekend. I could not get one for the funerals. What if it happens that we have a challenge with our pumps? It's natural, Your Worship, that we can actually have a water base. We always get these challenges, especially during this time of the year when it's so hot like this. How are we going to protect our residents and make sure that they get clean water? Are we not risking going for so long without any bowser or any other alternative of water? Because it has been like this for the past 2 years, and we are now more than half of our term into office, and our challenge is still the same. I'm kindly asking the committee to look into this issue, because we talked about the same issue over and over for the past 2 years, and there is no improvement. And I would also want to urge even our finance committee to try and put more resources so that at least we get more Bowsers. We don't want to run into a crisis where we end up being affected by cholera and other waterborne diseases just because we are failing to prepare for an emergency which can happen at any time of the year. Ngiyabonga, Your Worship.
Same issue, man.
Just want to respond to my people.
No. We'll leave the responses until the end. Five.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Mina ngizakhuluma ngaso. Ngithanda ukubonga i-community ama-contractors. Bathi uhlupho singalwa thina sonke, bathi uhlupho ngamanzi. Ngoba amasuka lawana ukuze basebenze ngafuna amanzi. Ngingazi Nkosi ukuthi nxa singakhuluma ukuthi amanzi sike sivule maybe for week uBulawayo. Sibone singakhangela amanzi alahleka. La manzi sizawavalela. La manzi athathwa ngabantu ababhuza besiyathengisela abantu abanomsebenzi namanzi. Angazi Nkosi, umbono wami ngoba amanzi amaningi ayalahleka siphinde sithi ngapha siyavala. Ukwenze amasuka lawa aphuzwa ngamanzi. Ngike ngabona yakala la ngiyidlulisa ekuthiwa yi-flash. Siyangena uflash ufika lapha. Ungene lapha ufike lapha. Akulungi. Asike sibele ukuthi sivulela amanzi lawo yonke. Maybe labana abavanalize ama-pipes kusiyadayisela abantu kuzashonakala ngokwana. Ngoba uyikukuza abantu ama-taps ayavanalize ngapha amasuka abhuluka ngenxa yokuthi kunjani akulamanzi. I-system iyalandela yona ihlale ingaphilisi. Because of amanzi. Kuyafika khona amathile kuhlale for long time amanzi kuyasekuthola i-drip because of ukubhuluka. Sasilala lokho sisilwa yona le-drink ngani ukuthi befike kusebenzisa i-problem yamanzi. So angazi babane abana ukuthi singancedisana kanjani ngoba i-problem yamanzi ashonakala kuma-system zethu. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
You still want to respond?
No.
What item, ma'am? 16. Do we have any before 16? Okay. As I say, speak now, forever hold your peace. 16. You have the floor, ma'am. Did you say 6 or 16?
16.
16.
Okay, I'm on board rehabilitation. As our fellow councillor said, we are getting into a season where we can expect rains at any given time. We have issues with our potholes, but there is one serious pothole that I am very much concerned about. There is a pothole by Pararinyaga near Harare Road. That road is very busy also, and a lot can be happening, and there is a school there. So when kids are crossing and when people are trying to find their way out of that photo, a lot can happen there.
I just wanted to clear with your that Engineer Dabidi knows that I have already raised that with him.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine because I just saw
Other
it
issues.
the sports that you cut me off. Councillor Chidi Mazana spoke of finance committee looking into the issue of Bowsers. And I just wanted to tell him that we have since done that. A few Bowsers will be coming.
Very good. Any other debates? Can I just, before I get the chair, just to... Sorry, I didn't see you, ma'am. What item, ma'am? 18. You have the floor. Sorry.
18. 18.
18. You want... Sorry. Yes. Put your hand up clearly so that I can see. Okay. You've got the floor, ma'am. Carry on.
Thank you. Traffic control and safety, item 18. Your Worship will take note that 3 years ago the council unveiled public transport policy, and its major component was to reduce road carnage within our city. Unfortunately, we have seen public operators doing mischievous driving in the city. they either park in the middle of the road or reverse on oncoming traffic. So I'd like to urge council to go back to the go back to the drawing board for service level agreement with those private operators. Secondly, on Georges Lundiga and Georges Lundiga, from 6th Avenue to 1st Street, we have noticed that there is now a truck stop during the night. So I also urge the council to make law enforcement and to also take note that along Georges Lundiga there is now a bus terminal, intercity. So I'd like to urge council to really enforce. Last but not least, along 5th Street and 6th Avenue, there is now an influx of buses, cross-border buses, which park along the roadsides, passengers boarding. So this is of great importance that we take note. Those buses there's no terminal there. So I urge council to also take note of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. On the same item, ngivumela ngibuze umgcini sihlalo mhlawumbe yimi ngilolwazi oluncane. Ikakhulu konke lokho okukhulunywe ngikhansela wami ngivumelana la. Sikhangela kakhulu imota lezi ezisithwala sisuke emalokitshini singena edolobheni. Ngendlela asebesebenza ngayo in history, ngendlela engiyazi ngayo abantu abanjengaye eChova Mbayiwa abantu asesibathembile edolobheni lakoBulawayo ukuthi babamba kuhle umthetho womgwaqo. Kodwa mhlawumbe ngokuthi insimi sincane lapho kuvunwa khona ukuthi abantwana bedle, sebepaka noma ngaphi phakathi komgwaqo. Ngi-observe enye iscenario ngisephumula ngidlule emgwaqweni wephumula lapha wama esenta yomgwaqo. Ngivumele ngibuze chairman, wasesithi le imoto eyayibuye emuva kwakuyi-X-Trail, basebesithi kabhode ngapha nxa ebhoda kule moto eziningi ezibuyayo, then kwase kungasazwanwa khonapho. Imoto yangikhona ngunumber 610B ngayithatha because kwaba le commotion. Ngibuza kakhulu ukuthi nxa laphana sebezorenewa ama license kubanjwa njani Chalimana, ngoba sicela iorder emgwaqweni, abantu bayalimala mhlawumbe ngokubona ngani yinto encane, kodwa nxa sokule accident sokumangalisa, sokumangala, sokuphuma yonke indawo, igazi selichithekile. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
You've got the floor, ma'am.
I wanted to speak on traffic lights. This past 2 weeks, we have seen an improvement on the lighting in town, especially. Okay, I saw from the side from Pomona going that side. So we want to thank the engineer and the department and the committee for actually doing such a thing, because we're in a period whereby there are armed robbers in these bushes that are near these bushes. So if there is public lighting, I think there is a little bit of safety when it comes to residents, especially for those walking to work, from work at night. Thank you.
IT, yes, ma'am.
Just get the market in Napana. We never must see that home, would it is to say is in force. See, I tell the gentleman, would it is
Just before you respond, I just want to make a quick comment regarding Bowser's. In English, we know of the phrase, a stitch in time saves 9. And it seems to me that a major problem that we have within the council is that we are not adequately maintaining what we have. If we use the example of the cleansing department, at one stage it had 13 vehicles off the road. I spoke to the superintendent last week. He says that is down to 4, which is progress. The same applies to Bowsers. Whilst I appreciate the news that we're getting new Bowsers in, it's critical that we maintain adequately what we've got. Tied to that is a discussion, and I haven't seen the town clerk because he's been away, but regarding the drop in our stock levels in our workshops, that because of various procedures, we don't have the standard equipment, the stock that we used to have, which presumably affects our ability to do basic maintenance on our equipment. And I urge the committee to look at these issues, to empower our mechanics and our workshop technicians as best we can, along with finance, to ensure that they've got the necessary tools so that we can maintain our existing equipment, because it's a lot cheaper to maintain existing equipment than to buy completely new Bowsers and other equipment. Thank you. But you have the floor, sir, to respond.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, colleagues. Most of your concerns have been raised, especially the issues to do with Bowsers. I'm happy that Councillor Mabeza reports that Finance Department is going to acquire new Bowsers. But us as a committee, we had requested a joint meeting with the Finance, Your Worship, to try and come up with a lasting solution as to why most of our vehicles are grounded at the works yard there on just short of just a few dollars to repair those items. So I'm happy that she has preempted some of what we expected with the finance, but we are expecting a meeting with the finance soon. And then on other matters raised by my colleagues, most of the stuff were noted, but on item number 18, I would like to warn transport operators that who are defying their contracts with the council. For example, my people in my ward in Makoko West, they always cry, Your Worship, instead of those transport operators taking them to their bus terminals, they leave them halfway, Your Worship. So this is a stern warning that I'm giving to transport operators that we are going to request their licenses if they are not careful, Your Worship. On that much, I conclude my submission.
Thank you. Can we move that report, please? I move that the report of the General Purposes Committee meeting held on the 25th of August as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted. Is that a seconder, sir?
No, I'm not seconding.
You want to debate? Do we have a seconder? Thank you. What item, sir?
Item 11.
Anyone before 11? What? 1. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. I was reading this report and the Chamber Secretary mentioned something very interesting, which I think it is in the best interest of this council to resolve. It's just a minor mistake which we did when we were selecting committees. She speaks of an error which we made, where we were supposed to we have a junior council which is governed by the patron and the focal person. So I think we made a mix-up there. So I want to recommend and move a motion that the patron of the junior council from today becomes the focal person, becomes the staff. That's the first recommendation that I have.
Sorry, could you repeat that? I wasn't clear on what you recommended.
All right. If you read the minutes, there are remarks which were made, a comment which were made by the chamber secretary, but then I think she was acting as the town clerk after a debate which rose around why did the focal person of junior council he didn't attend the trip to Japan, if I'm not mistaken, which is I think in my views is water under the bridge. So I'm saying I think we made a mistake as this council when we were selecting our committees. Therefore, it is of my best view and interest for us to amend that mistake that we made by ensuring that from today the patron of the junior council becomes a councillor and the focal person becomes a staff member. So it's just something which has to be corrected. Swapping the positions and the responsibilities. Then my recommendation number 2 on the same note. It is of my understanding, Mayor, that the international trips which we are having as this council, they are not vacations, but these trips are a learning platform and also platforms where if we are utilized better, we can raise the image of the city and bring about strategic partners to advance the development of the city. So we don't need to undermine them and utilize them. It has been the culture of this council that every trip, specifically which requires youth, might be youth in international programs, etc. We have a tendency of sending people there in those international platforms which are not youth. It is not wrong, but in principle it's very wrong. There's a reason why there's the specific team youth. There's an untapped resource in that international space that if we send rightful people, we can utilize it and make sure that we benefit as a city in terms of youth empowerment and development. If you see in item 34, in item 30, there was a youth entrepreneurship and a business launch in Salisbury, and you sent someone who's not even a councillor here, who's not even a youth. Those programs, they expose us to learn so that when you come here, we make policies that benefit young people. It is not beneficial to send someone who will not contribute to the policy making of this council. So my second recommendation is from today, if there's a youth program, let's make sure that we utilize our youth councillors here. They are men, they are brilliant, and they are okay. Let's trust them and invest in them so that when they come here, they come with ideas which they've learned somewhere else, so that they benefit the policy formulation of this council. So that was my second recommendation, and I hope this council will adopt it without any fear or any favor. Then my last item is on item 34.
No,
but I think I'll
is there any, let's try and deal with this. Is anyone who would like to second what the councillor said, just so that for the purposes of the minute that we resolve? What you said sounds, to my mind, entirely logical. So we second it. Carried. Right, we've dealt with item 1. Anyone before 11? You've got the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Data modeling and performance reporting play a crucial role in enhancing service delivery in cities by enabling data-driven decision-making, improving accountability, and optimizing resource allocation. Your Worship, in past sittings of this council, we have spoken about the need to move to data-driven decisions and data-driven reporting. I am going to give one example. in a previous sitting, we agreed that we should have on a weekly basis a report circulated to policymakers of faults reported, faults attended to, and faults outstanding, with clear explanations on why they are outstanding and the responsible department. A few months down the line, we have not seen that coming to fruition. I want to encourage, perhaps through your office, Your Worship, if we can have that. It will be very informative and instructive because it will assist a lot of people in terms of clarity. And then, Your Worship, you raised something important about digitalization of documents. I'll say documents without going to any specific document. That not only assists in terms of convenience, it also improves when we talk about ease of doing business of council. There are a lot of benefits that are tied to the idea of e-governance. It is an idea that we need to embrace. It is an idea which also ties in with our investment drive, where we're saying, okay, come to Bulawayo. It makes it easier for someone in a remote location if they need to do any business with the city. The preliminaries can be done virtually because the necessary and requisite documentation will be available through whichever platform the city would have chosen to upload it on. So it's a conversation that is that requires a lot of thought and serious consideration, especially when we look at how the world is moving towards paperless environments. It also ties in with the idea of climate mitigation because it means less of our trees are going to be cut down to convert into paper. There are a lot of benefits and big wins. So I just thought I would make that submission. I thank you.
What's that?
I just want to elucidate on the alignment with the national and local priority and also put it together with the benefits and strategic impacts. Yes. Yeah. So, Your Worship, I think this cannot just be brought into council without training on culture change and change environment, change management in itself. This council is becoming exactly what the country at large is good at, coming up with excellent blueprints that never see the light of the day. Our problem, not only as a country, but also as this local authority, is implementation, Your Worship. Implementation due to resistance to change because others may fear they will lose their big portfolios, or others just fear that the changes will sweep their positions away. Your Worship, Councillor Moyo eloquently spoke to the issue of bi-directional communication, although he put it in another way. We cannot be a local authority, Your Worship, that continues to report and get references without the necessary feedback on the progress is made on the reports that we do. I am fearing that with all these blueprints, we are slowly and becoming a talk show. A talk show that will come here and speak eloquently in front of the residents, but with nothing being achieved. Can we have a situation, Your Worship, where we have a department that specifically tracks the performance of the reports and give feedback? A department that ensures that all the dashboards that are being talked about have a meeting point where we evaluate performance, deviation from the plans, and also bring in alternatives to the deviations. This is what you call monitoring of a process, Your Worship. We can't, in modern day management, Your Worship, still sit here and report and talk about dashboards as a fulfillment of an administrative requirement. Let's speak to the dashboard to address service delivery, because this is our ultimate aim when we are here. So we need to ensure that that dashboard does not satisfy or assist to tick boxes at the end of the month to say you did the dashboard, you recorded the councillor's report and gave him the reference. The dashboard must tell us what you did. And the dashboard must speak to the gaps on what was not done. And the dashboard must also give us how to ameliorate the situations in the event there are no resources to do that and when. Why am I saying this, Your Worship? You report a fault today that you reported last week, that you reported last month, that you reported the previous 3 months. And the question is, can we have the address? When you put the reference number, the response will be, can we have the address to this? Meaning the reference number also is not enough to track the fault. And also meaning that the people that are giving us reference numbers are not in control of their office, because they would not be asking us to further explain and give detail on a report that was reported a month ago. So what it simply means is, even in terms of the priority, Your Worship, we are not going to address issues based on priority because we don't know which one is older than the other, based on the responses on our notice board, on our platform where we talk with councillors and staff. So I am saying the system we are doing now is okay for a start, but we are way behind, Your Worship. We need to be interactive enough to ensure that residents hear from us to say, sorry, because of ABCD, we are unable to attend to this fault. Therefore, we are pushing these resources to ensure that at such a time we will be able to address you. This is what we call modern day technology. And we also need to get these departments managed by young people, Your Worship. Even at my age now, I am incompetent to deliver IT staff. A young graduate from NAST will do better. Let's bring these interns and also absorb them into the system to ensure that there is what we call a growing organization, Your Worship. City Council must be a growing organization. And how does it grow? The best growth is to ensure that we've got the necessary skills in all departments to meet our demands. And what are our demands? Service delivery. So, coming up with this document will not assist as long as there is nothing further to the document in terms of implementation. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. What item? 34? Anyone before 34? 34. Anyone else? You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I think first and foremost, I would like to appreciate what Councillor Mahlangu said. Indeed, wisdom comes with age. He spoke very well. I think it's very important, Your Worship, what he said, and it's something that your committee has to look into. I think we have an officer which we employed, if I'm not mistaken, evaluation and monitoring. This committee is supposed to be giving reports, checking the performance of each and every department. I think we are 36 months old. We have said for 36 times we are making resolutions without implementation, and I think it's a case to the people of Lawal to continue coming, sitting here without any implementation. Yet the executive committee is there, which is supposed to hold people into account as an employer to ensure that there's performance. And most fundamentally, there are young people who are very energetic to influence change. On item 34, Your Worship, this committee records that on local economic development, it records that it is allocated 3,567 market spaces for young people in Lawal. Meaning to say 3,567 youths have own businesses here in Lawal, which I found that statement not only treasonous but inhuman and untrue, because we know the fact that is on the ground. I would like to stress this point, Mayor, that drug and substance abuse, which we always campaign for and which we always advocate, is a symptom of a disease. The real disease that is being faced by the youth of Bulawayo is unemployment and poverty. And this council has a whole responsibility to ensure that we create that employment and we ensure that we empower young people. But if we come in this house and lie to each other to say we've so far allocated 3,567, where we know that the means of production and business in Bulawayo is not real by the average people of Bulawayo. More ways, it's not even done by the youth of Bulawayo. The youth of Bulawayo are running around the streets of Mabukoba, Gulman, without anything to do. They don't have these market spaces which are being mentioned there. So I think maybe your committee have to look deeper into what is being submitted into this house to convert that lie to be true, so that it can benefit the majority of the young people in Bulawayo. But most importantly, Your Worship, as I sit down, as an executive committee, I think maybe we need to give you a charge, so that maybe when we come back here, we will be speaking in business. For me, it is better for us to say today we don't have a new agenda we are going to discuss. Let's discuss about the pending resolutions which are not being implemented. Each and every executive director to report why there is no implementation of each and every resolution that we have made. If we come up with that report next year, a council, it will be better and justified to the people of Bulawayo that we have made recommendations in the engineering committee about the issue of water and sewer, but it has not been implemented because of APCT. We have made the resolutions about cleaning the city, holding the business committee into account to donate bills, but it has not been implemented because of APCT. We have not employed young people, women, and people living with disability because of APCT. It's better to discuss about the past. We can't go on being a debate society, coming here to talk, but without any implementation. So this committee must redefine its role. It has executive powers to ensure that they hold the people, our employees into account, and to make sure that the demands of the people of Bulawayo are being heard and delivered. Thank you so much.
Any further debate? What item?
Worship, last evening before I became a councillor, some of the full council meetings from the previous council, one of the biggest complaints from that council was the failure by our council to implement resolutions. Your Worship, I'm speaking from a position where I've seen, even in our local areas, we've got sometimes people who come with the donations to our council, and they are told to put it in writing. And once they put it in writing, it is there, no response from our local authority. I'm talking about resolutions which were made, actually some of them were actually made by the previous council. They were never implemented. We talk about what retention, we have written our proposals. There is no communication up to now. There is no implementation. So, Your Worship, we have got a very big problem that we have, that we also need to solve as a council. We are not blaming anyone, but we need to find a solution to this problem, because we can come here talk. It's better for them to respond and say this is not possible, so that at least we know the way forward, than for them to keep quiet. We've got a lot of resolutions, we've got a lot of proposals, we've got a lot of things that we've proposed as councillors to this council. Nothing has been implemented. And I think it's now becoming a norm, Your Worship, that if councillors come up with a proposal, and we've got some people from our management or from our local authority who are resisting that, instead of saying they'll just sit on the papers, sit on the resolution, just wait for us for the term to end, and then another council comes in. So we want to have a platform where we can discuss, like the councillor said, we discuss these resolutions and we also know why they are not being implemented, Your Worship. This is my contribution, I think.
Thank you, Your Worship. Ngisukumela ukuthi ngithi mina i-contribution ka-councillor uMoyo, he mentioned ukuthi, can we please have a meeting ukuthi all the departments bezositshela ukuthi ama-resolutions esayenza 3 years back angaka-implementwa up until now kuyini ama-challenges, because nxa sayenza i-resolution 2 years back savumelana ukuthi sizenza lokho lakhathesi singakakuyenzi, kutsho ukuthi kule problem. So can that be adopted, i-suggestion ikaba uMoyo ukuthi sibe le meeting eqhakathekileyo ukuthi sizorepotela ukuthi resolution le esayenza ngelanga elinje why inga-actionwanga, si-understand sonke, sabambe wonke ama-resolutions wona la esayenzayo. Thank you.
Any further debate before I respond? I'm going to deal with the three councillors who have raised legitimate concerns, and I respond in the following way. Firstly, it is important that individual councillors are proactive themselves. It's not good enough just to bring matters to a full council like this and to speak in generalizations that nothing is done, no resolutions have been achieved. I share much of your frustrations, but it's simply incorrect to say that nothing has happened. For example, we've got what happened in Pumula, where the councillor there raised the issue of 49 houses that had never had water and 1,000 other homesteads that hadn't had water for 5 years. She was proactive, extremely proactive. She banged on my door and insisted that I come out to her ward. And she then worked closely with her ward committee, and then came back and we met with our engineering staff, and it has been resolved because of her determination and her persistence. So it's not correct to say that nothing has happened. And I want to put it back to you, councillors, as individuals. If you believe that there are resolutions that have not been carried through, identify them. Don't speak in generalizations in a meeting like this. Bring them. If needs be, bring them to me so that we can list them and see what hasn't been achieved. The second point I want to make, the whole reason we have committees is so that councillors can get involved in those committees. And as you know, they are not constrained in their format like here. The town clerk and management cannot respond in these full council meetings. In committees they can, and they can also be cross-examined. And that is the critical component of our structure to get engaged in. So if you are not getting answers, be vigorous, attend your committee meetings and raise the issues. And if there's an issue that doesn't, if there's an issue which is concerning a committee that you are not a member of, find a councillor who is prepared to take it up on your behalf and deal with that. So I don't want to completely negate, because I share your frustration. You know my frustration, for example, on an issue like Glass Block. I think it's unacceptable that it's taken so long. And I'm not laying blame necessarily, but there are other minor issues. Those of you who know some of my concerns about access to our website and digitalization. It's far too slow for a smart, transformative city. And we need to pull up our socks. So I'm not seeking to defend ourselves, But there are other ways of tackling this more effectively than in speaking in generalizations. Let me end by dealing with Councillor Moyo's very valid point, supported by Councillor Mahlangu. And once again, similar to the issue of Ngezi Mine, what is our vision for digitalization? When we talk about the city being a smart, transformative city, a key component of that has to be access to information. And this city actually has a proud history. The Dutch ambassador spoke to me and said to me something that I didn't know. I was ashamed that the Dutch ambassador had to speak to me. She said, do you realize that our GIS system is one of the best in Africa, in this city? Our global information systems. So we do have talent. We do have resources. But we need to set ourselves goals. For example, our website is still, in my view, not acceptable. We need to be setting ourselves to have a goal of an app so that people on their phones can access their accounts. And your point, Councillor Mahlangu, in terms of being able to see what has happened to their report and track it. That is the correct use of digitalization. So, but I want to throw it back to the respective committees. Let's set those targets for management. We want an app by June 2026. Set that goal and work out how we're going to achieve that goal. And then I think we will achieve truly this goal of being a smart, transformative city. With those comments, I move the report. Can we move the report? Thank you. Chair of Townlands.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the report of the Townlands Planning Committee meeting held on the 26th of August 2025 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you. Any debate? Yes, ma'am. What? Item 4. Anything before 4? 4. Ma'am, you've got the floor. 5. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm here today to speak on resolutions. As we notice, not that we are accusing our town planning department, but we have traveled a few times in the last month, and we have seen so much development happening in small cities like Maswi. There were some councillors that traveled to Harare. We saw so much development happening in small cities like Kweku. And when you traveling into Bulawayo, we see nothing but bushes. And that is why there are so many wildfires. There are too many people. So I'm of an opinion of setting a narrative when it comes to local subject plan 20, which we resolved in one of our full council meetings when we spoke of Ascot. So now that we have seen in the report that the progress is almost at probably 98%, as I'm going through the report. Is it not wise to fulfill the resolution that we made around this issue so that we can see so much development in Bulawayo like other small cities are doing? Because they are growing more rapidly compared to Bulawayo, yet we are the second largest city in the country. And I remember part of our resolution, not setting a narrative as well, but we spoke of awarding CPZ because of their financial muscle compared to other individuals, because we were not sure of their financial muscles. So if all the process has been done, and all those, everything has been taken into consideration, maybe we might as well move with the issue because we'll be getting all these reports every month until we don't know when. So maybe it's wise to actually get done with the issue, then we can move forward. Thank you also.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. My need is to actually reiterate my previous sentiments, which I made, I think 2 months today, when I said Councillor Neta and his committee are doing well. Today, we are presenting before us another report which speaks to the completion of local development plan number 20, which covers Ascot area. And I know that they are seized with other local development plans and other local subject plans. Well done, Councillor Neta and your committee. You are doing well for the city of Bulawayo. However, my concern is on utilizing this space after you have developed your local subject plan and your local development plan. You need to put that into action. It must have a practical meaning to the people of Bulawayo. The question before us this evening is when are we going to see skyscrapers, townhouses, duplex complexes in that Ascot precinct? That is what is seizing, that is what is seizing as a city. Because to say that we put a land and there is nothing in that land is pointless and useless. So I want to encourage the community to move beyond these flats and put a practical meaning to these flats. How far, for example, we're talking about creating a municipality in our team. If you come to the CPD, a culture park. But the problem is the CPD culture park, say that we ask for, where we look at our priority. So, as a later, in the committee, see how you uchi, the answer to this particular question. It was moved with speed. See a lot of us are busy. 10 months, 14 months down the line, imagine about worship, you will take a sister Ascot. CEO Odikara. We need to tool our departments. We need to buy our machines. If you look at the series, Ubulawayo will be able to deliver.
What item, sir? 7. Hove? Sorry, anyone before 7? Okay. What's your item, sir?
Same item.
7. Anyone before 7? No.
Item 5, Angit. Item 4. 4. Angit. I. 4.
4?
Yes.
Okay, carry on.
I kabongeka. Ukansela uNdlovu uyayincoma idepartment. Hayi lami ngiyayinqoba noma ephepheni baba Neta into zenyu zimnandi. Kuyatshengisela ukuthi liyacabanga ukuthi uBulawayo ebe muhle. Siyalitshaya ihlombe. But ngale ku ground kuchiyena. Hayi ephepheni yikho sibi. Kumnandi kuyatshengisela sibili ukuthi izifiso zenyu lalikukhangeleleyo ukuthi kwenzakala koBulawayo kuyatshengisa ukuthi lesikhathi senu sokuhlala phansi. But into yenye lokhu isenjani? Sisephepheni. Kukhona okuncane. Amanye ama bigger projects. But kukhona okuncane, okuncinci, okunganidi isikhathi eside ukuthi kwenzakala. Okufana lokudweba kuliphetshana kokuthi eCaravanini eCountry Park ama vendors la kahlale kanje bethengise kusemthethweni. Kambe kusafuna sela ku propose la kuyenza la kusuggesta siyakubona emaphepheni. But ku ground kuyino sokusinda ukuthi into leyana yenzakala. Sinamasebhabhanja ngawethu wona lana avele alama challenges esiwaziyo sonke. But iphepha lenye elimnandi leli sicela kuhambisane le implementation. Nxa i-department yenu siyenzile iphepha laphela, nxa kule yinye i-department esivimba ukuthi kungaphushi, lisitshele ukuthi sokuphelele ngaphi kwinto le. Okuncane khona ukuthi izopheka ungamastenzi kwama-vendor, kwama-SMEs, ukuthi idorobha libe lihlanzekile. Singabi le mkhuhlane yana kade ikhulunywa ukuthi sithengisa inyama endaweni ezingayisizo. Singabi le ngcekeza yonke esikhuluma ngayo sisolo ukhansela uSikhu. Sisithi i-department yakho yanjani? Iyahlule. So sikulikhuthaza ukuthi kakumove la ngespeed elisiyenzileyo iqalisa lina njenge department ukuthi ibe number 1 koBulawayo eZimbabwe ukuthi master plan yenu la icabanga kudala la yenza into zenzimnandi. So ku ground kakuhambela. Thank you.
What item, ma'am? 5. You 7, sir. 5 or 4? 4. You got the floor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Mine is a brief one on these local plans. I think the department is exceptionally done very, very, very well. And I think what made most of these plans to delay to kick off, I think most of these plans were signed by the minister maybe early this year or last year, I can't remember very well. The delay has been decided of these local plans. But I'm happy where they are. My major concern now will be, after having done a beautiful thing, when it comes to allocation, we don't want the people who will come elsewhere. We have got investors here. I'm happy with the Kumbuleka thing, which you did in Harare, where we have got our own people who are in Harare. We have actually even developed in Harare to come back and develop here. We need to prioritize that. We don't want to get into who gets what or it's your job as management. But let's prioritize our own local. We've got powerful business people here, locals, who can do massive projects in all our areas. That's my contribution. Otherwise, it's a job well done. Thank you.
5. Thank you.
Item 5 engifisa ukubonga uchairperson wale committee, the committee yakhe ngomsebenzi omuhle okunanzelela ukuthi siyazidinga izindlu zethu ekugcineni kwempilo yethu, ukuthi wonke umuntu lapha kukhona la azaphelela khona. Siyabonga ngokusi avelela umhlaba ozasincedisa ukuthi ekupheleleni kwethu konke siye. Kodwa ke bese ngisithi isobho lakho loba belimnandi liza kuwona ngoza kwenu. Ngikhuluma ngomgwaqo. Khathesi vele umgwaqo khona uyasehlula ukuyafika lapho kumele siyelala khona abaningi. Kambe nxa sesivule omnye umhlaba, ubavulele yini Chalimana omnye umhlaba obanzi ukuthi bavule umgwaqo? Sithi thina nxa sisiyalala laphana abe finance bale mali ethile abayithatha kimi mase ngithule. Ngelanga bathatha imali enganani? Ngenyanga bathatha imali enganani? Kambe imali liyana iya ngaphi? Chalimana ngisho ukhulumisana labo zakwenu abazalungisa imigwaqo, abe finance abacollector imali, bengakuwonela isobho lakho ulilungise kahle. Kodwa ke I recommend ukuthi sisiya phambili, mhlawumbe se ring fence imali leyi yasemangcwabeni maybe for 3 months senelise ukuvula umgwaqo ukuthi imota zenelise ukuphambana ngoba ezinye zabe zisiya ezinye seziqedile ezinye zihamba laphana ugcina upaka eceleni ukuthi abanye badlule. Siyabonga Chalmana, ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Any other debate? Chair, would you respond, please?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'll start with Councillor Mareza. We are not allowed ukuthi state ukuthi sifuna uzibani ukuthi abe nguye njani ozaba lapha. Laphana kwenziwa i-bidding. We follow processes. We don't just say kuyaba nguzibani u-A kumbe u-B, hayi. Siyafaka laphana sithi awubhidwe kwenziwe so. Angithi. And then i-local plan e-ASCOT le, it's a process. We follow our procedures. Statutory instruments, USwalandelayo. Uti sikala, we research first. Then after researching, consultations. Then after my consultations, with our stakeholders, we present a report of study to management and councillors, as we did last time. And then after that, later kuma report council to adopt that report, and we have done that so far. And then after we have adopted the report, the council resolution will take public exhibition. We take it to Gabi, Ebantu in food. Sibabonisa abantu ukuthi hayi LSP e-ASCOT imi kanje. This is how we follow our procedures. Then after that, council, and then we send it footing up to be gazetted. And one Minister Tanjari assign. Then from there we can start. Then ukhethen abantu. I see it as ketan. And we put it to pity. Uthi lo la lo simbona ukuthi hayi laluzenza so like owenza ngaphi egodini I think there were 3 people who bid it. And then watuna songenini itera court. And everywhere that's how the process is supposed to be done. It might take long. It's not us esakwenzayo ngathi sifika ukuthi kukhona iprocess yangona ibanjani ibande kakhulu kodwa asibekezelelini unless in the till izitshintshe process ibe njani ibe quicker. But all in all, we follow the Regional Town and Country Planning Act and the Master and Local Plans regulations. That's what we follow. Thank you very much. Before I sit down, all right. Imgwaqo ayisiyabe sesicela another department because ama department they intertwine. Angithi so singaqeda thina sinike omunye la inike omunye yaphoselwana and then ama vendors we have got about 10,000 ama vending bays all over the city. Country Park ngikhona ezadwejo as we are having we did have lokhuza yakho did we have number 11 akula spoke. All right, let me finish local subject plan Country Park yes kuyo khathesi yes esiyenzayo. Then la izaphuma nxa lisola ukhansela nxa isola uzasola hayi lapha mina ngifuna kwenzakale so labantu labo ngabe sola esibantu sithi ama stakeholders lapha bazasola ukuthi lapha kulungise lapha ngithi we follow ama procedures la iCountry Park siyayifuna ibe yicity enjengechitungwitsi. Siyabonga.
Thank you, Chairman. Before we move the report, Chairman, you have stirred me to a thought which I just want to introduce. It seems to me that in our entire council structures, there is one critically important portfolio which is missing. And the more I think about it, the more obvious it becomes, namely marketing. We have a communications team, but Chair, once your processes, let's take the issue of ASCOT, where we are failing, and I come to the point that you've raised, ma'am. Why is it that Kwekwe and Harare, and I think that part of the reason is that although your committee does great work and town planning has done great work, once we've produced a product like that, we do not have the mechanism to adequately market it. And I'm just sowing a seed now for councillors and for the town clerk and management, that possibly we need to have a marketing committee, and possibly we need to look at expanding our communications team to include people who've got marketing talents, so that we can take the assets that our city has, such as Ascot, but also our historical assets, the beauty, the tourism, and market our city better and market its assets better. I sow that seed. Can we move your report? Yes. Thank you. Chair of Finance, please. Are you standing in for the chair, sir?
Development Committee meeting held on the 26th of August 2025. As submitted, we received and the various recommendations contained the be adopted.
Do we have a second for that? Thank you. Any debate? No. Sorry, ma'am? 10. Anything before 10? 10, ma'am, you have the floor.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Item 10, e-ward retention fund. Siyabonga ukuthi lisifakele itafula elobufakazi bokuthi silezi malini emawadini, sasebenzisa malini, kwasala malini. Kodwa umbuzo ngothi khona sasubmita ama-proposals, ama-projects. Azikaboni implementation yakhona, kodwa sesibona imali yethu isithethwe. Mhlawumbe uchair engathi uthi imali yethu bayihambise ngaphi. Ngiyabonga.
What item, sir?
Same item.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me just assist briefly. I think I've spoken before that management and councillors, you need a separate meeting in regard to this thing which we are talking about. We can't be talking about this thing over and over again. Thank you.
Any other debate? Yes, Councillor, thank you. The water retention issue is a huge issue, I think, for every councillor. I, as mayor, am deeply frustrated by the fact that I've got approved plans and I've not been able to implement them. And I think most councillors are in the same position. So we urge the town clerk and management to take this issue seriously, and I think we will take up that suggestion of a meeting. Is there any further debate on this? It's so moved. Is there any notice of leave? No notice of leave? Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.